Emily Thompson, a 25-year-old resident of the small town of Pinewood, has always loved nature. One warm summer day, she decided to go for a walk on a new trail in the woods far from her home. Emily took a small backpack with water, a snack, and a compass, wearing comfortable sneakers and her favorite t-shirt. She also grabbed a small sketch pad and a pencil, hoping to capture the beauty of the forest. The weather was beautiful, the sun shining softly through the foliage of the trees. Birds sang their songs, creating a peaceful atmosphere. Emily walked along the path, enjoying the beauty of nature around her. She took pictures of beautiful flowers and unusual trees, breathing in the scent of pine needles and forest herbs. From time to time, she stopped to sketch a particularly picturesque landscape. Time flew by, and suddenly Emily realized that she had been walking for over an hour in a part of the forest that was completely unfamiliar to her. She tried to remember the way back, but all the paths seemed the same. Emily began to worry, realizing that she was lost. The girl pulled out her compass, except she had completely forgotten which direction the house was in. Panic began to creep up on her. Then Emily took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. She tried to use her cell phone to get her location, but to her disappointment, there was no signal in this part of the forest. The phone's battery was almost dead, and Emily decided to turn it off to save the charge for emergencies. She decided to walk in one direction, hoping to come out to some landmark. Emily remembered the survival tips she had once read and even tried to identify the sides of the world by the moss on the trees. Though it didn't make much sense now. The sun was beginning to set, and the forest was growing darker. The shadows of the trees lengthened, taking on bizarre shapes. Every rustle and crack of twigs made Emily flinch. She began to imagine that someone was watching her from the darkness. A chill ran down her spine when she thought she heard someone's heavy breathing. Fear was slowly taking over the girl. She kept walking, trying not to panic, but now fatigue was taking its toll. Her legs were buzzing from the long walk, and her throat was dry. Emily took a sip of water from the bottle, noting with dismay that her supplies were running low. She tried to cheer herself up by humming her favorite song, but the sound of her voice only seemed to accentuate the surrounding silence. Suddenly, Emily heard a strange sound. It was the howling of wolves. She froze in place, trying to determine where the sound was coming from. The howls grew closer and closer, echoing off the trees. The girl's heart pounded so hard that it felt like it was about to jump out of her chest. Emily tried to remember everything she knew about wolf behavior, but fear clouded her thoughts. Emily saw several pairs of glowing eyes in the twilight. A pack of hungry wolves surrounded the girl. Their silhouettes moved between the trees like ghosts. The leader of the pack, a large gray wolf with a scarred face, slowly approached her, bearing sharp fangs. Emily noticed that his fur was ruffled and his ears were flattened against his head, clear signs of aggression. Emily's heart was pounding frantically, her adrenaline going off the charts. She tried to back away slowly, but the wolves kept up. Every step was difficult. Her legs felt like lead. Emily tripped over a tree root and fell on her back, hitting herself painfully. The fall knocked the air from her lungs, and for a moment she couldn't move. The pack leader took advantage of the moment and made a sharp lunge. His sharp claws left deep scratches on Emily's arm. She cried out in pain, feeling warm blood trickling down her skin. The smell of blood seemed to excite the wolves even more. They began to approach, licking and snarling. The wolf attacked again. This time, its teeth grazed the girl's leg, tearing the fabric of her jeans. Emily felt a sharp pain and realized the situation was critical. The girl grabbed the nearest branch, trying to fight off the predators. But she realized she wouldn't last long. The branch seemed so fragile compared to the powerful jaws of the wolves. In desperation, Emily screamed, hoping someone would hear her. But the only response was the howling of the wolves and the rustling of leaves. She thought it was the end, that no one would come to her aid in this wilderness. Tears of despair rolled down her cheeks. Emily began to remember her life, her family, her friends, thinking she would never see them again. Suddenly, there was a loud roar, like a battle cry. The ground shook under the hooves of many horses. The sound was so sudden and powerful that even the wolves were confused for a moment. A herd of wild horses appeared from behind the trees, their silhouettes outlined against the setting sun. Emily couldn't believe her eyes, thinking she was hallucinating from fear and fatigue. The horses galloped straight at the wolves, the ground rumbling beneath their hooves. The wolves backed away in confusion, not expecting this turn of events. Emily couldn't believe her eyes. It was as if nature had come to her rescue. She felt a surge of hope as she watched this incredible scene. The wolf leader, not wanting to give up his prey so easily, tried to attack one of the horses. But the predator immediately received a powerful blow with a hoof, from which he flew several meters away. The blow was so strong that the wolf struggled to get to its feet. Emily heard a pitiful whimper and saw the leader limp away, retreating. The other wolf was also thrown back by the horse's blow, whinnying pitifully in pain. The rest of the pack began to retreat, tucking their tails. Realizing that the forces were unequal, as there were too many horses, the wolves finally retreated and disappeared into the forest, vanishing into the darkness. Emily exhaled with relief, still not believing in her miraculous rescue. She looked at the horses with amazement and gratitude, shuddering every now and then from the horror she had experienced. The herd began to move slowly away, but one horse remained. It was a beautiful Nestor mare with a white star on her forehead and large, intelligent eyes. Emily felt a strange connection to this animal, as if they had known each other all their lives. The horse approached Emily cautiously, as if realizing that the girl was frightened and hurt. Emily reached out a trembling hand, and the horse gently touched her nose, allowing herself to be stroked. At the touch of the animal's warm fur, Emily felt the fear slowly recede. She buried her face in the horse's mane, tears of relief streaming down her cheeks. Emily felt incredibly calm around this majestic animal. There seemed to be some inexplicable bond between her and the horse. The mare scrutinized Emily's wounds as if assessing their seriousness. Emily noticed that the horse's eyes were full of sympathy and understanding. To the girl's surprise, the mare knelt down as if inviting Emily to sit on it. Emily hesitated, having never ridden a horse without a saddle before, but instinct told her that this was her only chance to get out of the woods. She gathered all her courage and decided to trust this amazing creature. With difficulty, overcoming the pain from her wounds, the girl climbed onto the horse's back. She felt the animal's muscles tense under her weight. The mare rose slowly, giving Emily time to adjust and find her balance. Emily wrapped her arms tightly around the horse's neck, feeling the animal's warmth and strength. The mare slowly moved forward, carefully picking her way between the trees. Each step was smooth, as if the horse was trying not to hurt Emily. The girl clung tightly to the horse's mane, trusting it completely. She felt a strange calmness, as if she knew that everything would be all right now. So they rode on for several hours. Night shrouded the forest, but the horse's eyes seemed to find their way easily in the darkness. Emily fell into a half-sleep from fatigue and blood loss, then came to her senses again. She lost track of time, trusting her four-legged savior completely. The stars twinkled through the trees, and Emily felt as if she were traveling through a magical world. The forest gradually thinned, and soon Emily saw the first glimmers of dawn. Along with them came the lights of a small settlement. It was the village of Oakville, located a few miles from Pinewood. Emily felt hope fill her heart. She was saved. The villagers watched in amazement as a wild horse emerged from the woods with the injured girl on its back. John and Mary White, an elderly couple, were the first to run up to Emily. They helped her down from the horse, gently supporting the poor girl. Emily was exhausted, her wounds bleeding. Mary quickly brought out a first aid kit and began treating the girl's wounds. John called for an ambulance. While waiting for the medics, the villagers surrounded Emily with care. They gave her water and covered her with a warm blanket. The horse stood nearby, as if to make sure the girl would be all right. When the ambulance arrived, Emily could hardly tell about her amazing rescue. The paramedics were amazed by her story. Before leaving for the hospital, Emily petted her rescuer one last time. The horse gave a soft neigh, as if saying goodbye, and slowly walked back into the woods. At the hospital, Emily received all the care she needed. Her wounds were serious, but thankfully not life-threatening. After her full recovery, Emily often returned to that forest, hoping to see her saviors again. She brought apples and carrots and left them in the clearing. Sometimes she was able to watch the herd from afar, and each time she recognized her bay savior among the horses. This incredible adventure changed Emily's life forever. She became a wildlife advocate and even organized a foundation to preserve the wild horse population. Years later, while walking in the woods with her daughter, Emily saw a familiar Nestor mare with a white star on her forehead. The horse approached them, allowing herself to be petted. In that moment, Emily realized that miracles do happen, and that the connection between humans and nature can be much stronger than we think.